Fire Call, the fire safety show with Division Chief Jim Sedaris. Hi, I'm Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you're watching Fire Call. And this month we're testing out these new Petrogen torches. And I got Travis Tom with me to talk about these Petrogen torches. Trav, what's the difference between this torch and a normal torch?
Well, the big difference is, Jim, these torches run on gasoline versus acetylene versus our old torches. Gasoline, as you know, is readily available pretty much anywhere you go. When we go out on a call, we can get gasoline. And the other thing, as you can see, is these torches do cut a little bit faster than acetylene in the thicker metal.
Cut a chunk out of there for us so we show folks. My next question is, with the right tip, how thick of metal can we cut with these new torches?
These torches can punch cut up to 17 inches thick.
So you're talking a slab this big that you can cut through with this torch?
Yeah.
Where would we use these that they'd be handy that we wouldn't have before?
Oh, well, the big thing is we can use them on any structural collapse call that we go on. And anytime we respond anywhere out in the county and we can respond in all hours, the torch, we can get gasoline anywhere we go versus acetylene, we might have to come back to a city.
How many of these torches do we have, Trav?
We ordered 4 of them.
And put them on all the rescues?
Yeah, that's where they're at.
Any special training you have to have that's different from the normal torch?
There is a little bit difference. There's a little bit of learning curve with them, but they're pretty user-friendly, as you can see.
Yeah, I know. Well, thanks a lot, Trav. Let me get some questions. We got some shout-outs, and the first shout-out is to Conrad. Conrad is with the ESA Township Volunteer Firefighters in Thornton Station 1, and they are in Ontario, Canada. And our next shout out is to Vlad. Vlad's in the North Shore Fire Rescue in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And the last shout out is to the guys from the Piccadilly Country Fire Service in South Australia, and that's to Nicholas. So we're getting them from all over. We're glad you're watching. We're going to be talking to Metro Communications and some of the other organizations that we work with on a regular basis. So sit back and watch the show. I'm with Deb Barrett, and Deb Barrett is the Assistant Director of Metro Communications. And Metro Communications are kind of the nerve center that runs the entire city for dispatching. So Deb,
Yes.
There's been some changes here. Tell us kind of how the Metro operates within our system.
Well, Metro Communications is a standalone agency. We dispatch for all of Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls Fire Department, Sioux Falls Police Department, Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office, Brandon Police Department, 14 different volunteer fire departments, and 3 other volunteer ambulance departments, and emergency management and animal control.
So you pretty much run the show as far as deciding who's going where and keeping track of everybody.
Right, we do.
Well, we have some questions for you, Deb.
Okay.
From all over. And this first question is from Stephen. Stephen's in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. And what he wants to know is, what's said over the intercom and what does it sound like when the tones go off? How do you set the tones off for our fire stations?
Fire alarm for engine 1, truck 3, engine 3, rescue 8, battalion 1. 6 West 13th Street, assist rescue 5 on a gas leak.
Well, in most cases, those tones are set off automatically with our computer system, but every once in a while we have to manually push a button. And when we push that button, or they are dispatched automatically, there's a bit of a warble sound in each of the fire stations that are activated.
So they can tell where they're going.
So, and with that, we tell them, we dispatch the call verbally. They receive the call over what's called a rip and run. They receive it that way, and they receive it over their pagers.
Okay. So Stephen, that should answer that one. We have a call coming in right behind us. This question's from Sean. Sean lives in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and he wants to know
he wants to know more about the station tones. When you tone out different stations, is there any significance in which stations are getting toned out, or you control which stations are getting toned out from here?
Yes, with the way that our computer system operates and what's recommended for each call that we have, whether it be Station 6 and Truck 6 or Rescue 1 or whatever it is.
So you can multiple stations, you can
yes.
hit as many as you want.
Yes, we can dispatch 1 at a time or 10 at a time. It just depends.
Okay. This question is from Greg, who lives in Sioux Falls. He wants to know, this is interesting. He wants to know if someone calls 911 from a cell phone that's capable of sending GPS, what can Metro 911 and Sioux Falls Fire Rescue see as far as that location, and can you pinpoint where the call is calling from?
We have what's called Phase 2 wireless, and with that program, that allows us with digital cell phones, that allows us to determine someone's location within anywhere from 1 to 100 feet of where they're actually calling from. We get the latitude, longitude, we're able to figure out pretty close to where they are.
So does that come in on every call? If I call you on my cell phone, will it show up here as where it's at, or do you have to look for that information?
We have to look for the information, but it's a matter of a couple clicks on the phone.
So if someone calls, and the other question I'm going to ask, and I don't know if you know the answer, but how do you know if your phone is capable of sending that GPS coordinates?
Well, if your phone is more than 5 years old, it's probably not. If it's an analog phone, it's not going to work. The newer phones, digital phones, and you can tell whether it's a digital phone by whether or not you can text message, things like that. If you can text, then you have a digital phone, and that's going to work.
So if I call you and I don't know where I'm at, you could get down to about a half a block away from us.
Yep, we can try.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that, Deb.
Yep. Now the one thing to keep in mind with those phones is that we just discovered a couple days ago that all of the analog phones are going to be turned off, or can be turned off. The FCC has given permission to the cell phone companies to turn off those analog phones on February 19th. So anyone with those phones older than 5 years old, they may not be able to use them.
Oh wow, that'll be a surprise.
Yep.
And here's our last question. It comes from Austin. Austin lives in where we should be at, Deb, Boca Raton, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And he's probably just saying this just to say we're warmer than you are. And he wants to know, when we have a fire alarm, is there a difference between what trucks we're going to send if it's a different type of structure? So like if we have a large occupancy, is that different than if we have just a single building?
Well, there's not so much a difference as when it's a structure fire itself. We're going to dispatch the call as we're recommended to do, as the units that are recommended. But if it's a high-rise, for instance, or a school during school hours, that could be just a little bit different.
Okay.
It just depends on what that building is. Let's say.
And then I guess the difference would be like a still. What's the difference between like a still alarm and a fire alarm?
Yep. A still alarm is going to be a response for just one truck.
Okay.
Which could be a car fire. But most buildings are considered structure fires. But a car fire is a still alarm as long as it's not sitting in a garage.
Yeah.
If it's in a garage, it becomes a fire alarm. A still alarm could be an automatic alarm, automatic fire or smoke alarm coming from an apartment building or a grocery store or something like that.
Where we're sending one truck.
Yep.
And a fire alarm would be
multiple trucks, multiple
go.
response. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Deb, I appreciate it. I guess this is I'm surprised it's kind of busy right now, but are there any busier times than not during the day?
Our afternoon shift is normally the busiest. That shift runs from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and it's usually the busiest, and their time actually can pick up around 4 o'clock or so.
Oh, really? Why is that? Do you know?
I'm going to guess that's just when people are getting off work and kids are getting home from school. They're just, for some reason, that time of day from 4 till midnight actually is where our busiest times, and that's where most of our calls come in. That's where most of our calls are dispatched.
And I did have one question, too. We had a question from a father writing, should little kids call if they've started a fire or have a problem?
They should always call.
Okay.
Always, even if it's an accident. They won't get in trouble, at least not by us. They won't get in trouble. It's better to call 911. If they're not sure, call us.
And if they do call and they don't know their address, how does that work?
Well, with the system that we have, we likely will have their address on our screen. We may ask them if they know where they live and what their address is, just to make sure that what we have on our screen is right. But if they don't know what it is, we'll likely go with what we have.
And then what happens at that point? You have someone call there's the language barrier. What do you do then? How do you?
If there's a language barrier, we contract with AT&T Language Line. We contract with them, and we'll conference their call with an interpreter.
Okay, so really? So you can figure out what's going on and then dispatch the appropriate units for the need.
Right.
Okay, Deb, if people want to know more about Metro Communications or how you operate, what can they do? How can they find out more?
One of the best things they can do is apply to attend our 911 Citizens Academy. We hold that twice a year in February and October. And in that class, they will hear everything from our hiring process to our training to what happens when we answer the phone, when we take a call, why we ask the questions that we ask, what people can expect when they call us, what happens behind the scenes when they call 911. From the time they call to the time responders get there, there's a lot of activity going on in the room.
I'm kind of excited about this one. Do they get to come down here and kind of like we're doing behind the scenes?
Yes.
Oh, really?
That's something else that's offered with the Citizens Academy. It's an 8-hour class on a Friday, but we also ask that they come in and spend 4 hours here in the center observing, and they'll put a headset on with the dispatcher. They'll listen to the calls coming in firsthand. If they're with a dispatcher, they'll listen to the calls being dispatched and all the traffic back and forth between the police department or the fire department and those dispatchers.
Oh man!
So it's a really good class, and we use it a lot for public education, recruitment as well. But public education is really important because people really don't understand what 911 is. They don't understand what we do.
So if people want to get more information, they can actually come down here and do what we're doing.
Yes.
Kind of because it's tough to get in here too.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a big security building. Well, Deb, if people are interested, and I'm sure they would be because I'm kind of interested, who do they contact?
Well, they can contact me,
Okay.
and I can give you my phone number. It's 367-7297, or even better, they can go to our website, 911metro.org.
Okay.
And there they'll find an application for the Citizens Academy, and when they fill that out, it's emailed directly to me.
Okay.
So that's a little bit easier, and they can read our website. If they have other questions, they can call me.
But if someone doesn't have email, doesn't have the internet, they can get a hold of you and still get in the
Absolutely.
process. Great.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot, Deb. And this has really been kind of neat to see how this all operates.
Thanks.
I'm with Lieutenant Colonel Rick Larson, and Rick Larson is the squadron leader for the Civil Air Patrol in Sioux Falls. And Rick, got a lot of questions for you about how we can we work together.
Right.
And what actually does the CAP do?
What do you want us to do? You call, we haul. We'll do anything from transport missions for tissue and organs. We will do air search and rescue as our primary task, along with Homeland Security missions. Disaster relief and damage assessment would be ways that we all work together in the integrated incident arena.
So if we have a major incident, we can put planes up and really get that eye in the sky of how bad things are.
Exactly. Our volunteer air crews, Jim, can work for less than $100 an hour. Very cost-effective resource for the public and response agencies.
Now, you mentioned something earlier when we were talking about doing the wildland firefighting. And that's something we don't really think about, but how does that work?
Wildland and prairie firefighting, of course, is a huge priority in South Dakota. Mr. Joe Lowe and his staff out in Pierre, in the Fire Marshal's office and wildland fire officials have seen the value in using Civil Air Patrol crews on a volunteer basis to act as a forward spotting asset for single-engine air tankers and heavier water bombers throughout fire season.
So you can actually go out and spot where the tankers should be dropping their loads in?
Correct.
Oh, really?
And coordinating with them on our airborne and ground radios.
Now, Civil Air Patrol is based here. You have planes?
We have 2 aircraft here, Jim. We have a Cessna 182 technologically advanced airplane, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we have a regular Cessna 172 Skyhawk as well that we use for training.
Now, how many people are in the CAP in Sioux Falls?
In Sioux Falls, we have close to 100 members, about half of which are youth members and half of which are adult members.
And then the call for putting up the planes, how does that go about when we need that? When we need your help, or someone needs your help in the state?
Right.
How does that happen?
Well, it could happen numerous ways through numerous channels. If the fire department wanted to use our assets, they would request us through county emergency management or the county sheriff, who would then contact state radio, and the duty officer there from Office of Emergency Management would up-channel the approval process. If there's a search and rescue call from Air Force Rescue Coordination Center, they would contact the state, who would then in turn alert one of our officers on call.
And that doesn't take very long. I mean, those are just phone calls, basically.
Very quick process.
Well, this is all great, Rick. Now, if people want to join or get more information, who should they call and how do they contact you?
They can check out our website at www.sfcap.us, or they can call and leave a message at our squadron headquarters at Joe Foss Field, 367-4870. Again, we have programs for youth age 12 to 21 and adults from 18 to 99.
Oh, great. Well, best of luck, Rick, and thank you very much for helping us out.
Thank you, sir.
I got 2 questions, and they deal with the exact same thing. The first one's from Kyle, and Kyle lives in Chestnut, Illinois, and the second one is from Cody, and Cody lives in Racine, Wisconsin. And they both want to know about the MABUS system, and the MABUS system is the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System for fire alarms in rural areas. And I have Lynn DeYoung with me, and Lynn is the emergency manager for Minnehaha County.
Thanks for having me today, Jim.
Yep, and now we don't have MABUS. What do we use? How do we dispatch out in the county for fires or emergencies?
Basically what MABUS is when they have large events out in Wisconsin and Illinois, those type of areas, they have a predetermined number of agencies that are going to go. We have a similar system here in Minnehaha County. It's called Automatic Mutual Aid.
Okay.
So today, if you have a house fire in, say, Crooks, South Dakota, or in the outlying areas, you're going to get the Crooks Fire Department, the Renner Fire Department, and possibly a Sioux Falls Fire Station or a combination of units.
Okay.
So basically what the system is, it's a big mutual aid system depending on pre-planned calls.
So it's already determined out ahead of time.
Yep, we plan it out whether it's a structure fire or maybe it's a injury accident with 10 or 11 people involved, that type of thing.
Sure.
But basically it sends a predetermined number of resources to that call automatically, and it's always more resources than what would be on a regular single vehicle car fire or a single vehicle accident or a single vehicle car fire or something like that. So we take a look at all those incidences, try to plan for the worst, and then send the appropriate resources based on kind of our worst case scenario. And this is done at the beginning. We realize here, along with the fire departments, Minnehaha County, City of Sioux Falls, that we can send a lot of resources to mitigate the situation really quick. And it's easier to do that than it is to call in resources after we get there and we find out that, oh, this is much bigger than what we thought it was.
And then you're behind the curve.
Yep.
And then it takes longer to get those resources on the way.
Yeah, and all the the firemen, EMS, law enforcement know it's much easier to have all these resources going because we know that we can make the biggest amount of difference in the shortest.
Sure.
From the time we get the call till about the first 10 minutes, is we can make all the difference in the world. After that 10 minutes, it's much more difficult saving a life or saving a property or any other structure as a result of fire. So it's something that people are doing across the country, and that mutual aid system that we have is Minnehaha County, City of Sioux Falls, and then portions of Lincoln County.
So we have it planned out, and we're ahead of the curve right now with the rest of the country.
Sure, yep, we have it planned out, and it's really beneficial for our departments here as far as getting grant dollars. It also allows them to apply for what's called the Assistance of Firefighter grants, and that's one of the questions. Do you have automatic mutual aid? Because this is basically the top-notch fire departments do this, or this is what has come out of lessons learned incidences from big fires and catastrophic events across the country.
And we've used this on a regular basis.
Sure, we use this. There's not a structure fire that goes by out in rural Minnehaha County that doesn't have this happen. So it's probably...
You know what? We just had one the other day where both Sioux Falls Fire Rescue and several other volunteer departments went to one location as part of the normal call.
Yep, yeah, it happens as part of the normal call. And, for instance, the firemen in Sioux Falls are much more adept to fighting fires with a fire hydrant next to them.
Sure.
What part of this does out in the rural county is it allows those people, one of the big primary benefits is if I got a house fire, I can bring water for water shuttles. And sometimes it's the City of Sioux Falls who gets there first. Well, they use the water in their truck to get started, and then we fill their trucks up
by doing
hauling water.
Shuttles, tankers full of water, basically, back and forth.
So it really capitalizes on the strengths of all the departments involved, whether it's in the city or outside of the city, and the end result is more people's lives are saved and more properties protected.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Lynn. You wrapped that one perfect.
Well, we try, and the good thing is it's second nature to us because we do it every day.
Sure. Great. Thanks a lot, Lynn.
Thank you.
I'm at Fire Station 7, and I'm with the crew at Fire Station 7 to answer a bunch of your questions, and I'm with Doug Wilson. Now, Doug, no one knows this, for the most part. You are an avid skydiver.
That's correct.
And how many jumps do you have?
About 1,200.
Really?
Yes.
And what's the most exciting jump you've had?
The Dakota Bowl every year is probably my most exciting.
Jumping into the stadium?
Jumping into the stadium, into 10,000 people cheering me on.
And didn't you have the flag too? Was that at the President's Bowl or not?
I've done the flag, but not into the Dakota Bowl. I've done the flag into other football games out of town.
It's always fun to watch you. Okay, here's your questions. You ready?
Yes.
Now, you are a driver at
Yes.
Station 7, so you're driving the big rig, Truck 7?
Yes.
And this question is from Jeff. Jeff lives in Pleasant Hill, California. Jeff wants to be a firefighter, and he wants to know, he's always told where he lives, firefighters should know math and be good at math. And under what circumstances would math be used as a firefighter? And why would you be using math as a driver?
As a driver, there are many instances to use math. One of the basic ones for Sioux Falls alone is the 100 block streets start at 9th Street.
Oh, so you have to make the difference?
So every time you get a call south of 9th Street, you got to add 9 streets onto it.
Okay.
So that's a quick one. That's a basic one. Other ones as a driver is pump usage, water supply, and water fire attack. We have friction losses in hoses and appliances.
So as water is going through, it actually is losing its pressure because of that friction dragging on the water through the hose?
That's correct.
Okay.
We'd like to have, for an 1 3/4 line, 100 psi at the nozzle.
Pounds per square inch?
Pounds per square inch at the nozzle, so the firefighters aren't, they got enough water, but they're not overburdened with too much pressure. That would, and there's a formula for that. I usually keep a cheat sheet, but that's 131 pounds for the 1 3/4 at the pump.
Okay.
So I got to, keep track of that. Multiple lines is another story, or another diameter hose would be another formula.
Okay. So for math, Jeff, you're going to have to use math all the time. Are you ready for your next question?
Yes.
Okay. This one is from. This one's from Brent. Brent lives in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and he wants to know what's it like responding to a fire. You got a big rig, you're driving it. What's it like?
Well, as soon as the alarm goes off, the adrenaline starts. Me as a driver, I've got to listen carefully for the address. I will go over to the map that we have on the wall and try to find the quickest way to that address, trying to avoid detours and everything like that, which we usually keep updated on our maps. Everybody else is getting dressed in their fire gear. I jump on the truck. We respond. Like I say, it's an adrenaline thing. Get there. I try to get my crew.
You got to keep that under control because we don't want shit, driving too fast.
My priority is to get my crew there safely and in a timely manner.
Okay. Sounds good. This last question is from Tammy. Tammy lives in Hartford, South Dakota, just down the street. And she wants to know, what are your personal reasons for being a firefighter, and why do you do the job you do? Why did you become a firefighter?
Well, 20 years ago, I was a volunteer, and that got me involved in it. I came and tested in Sioux Falls, got on. One of the happier days of my life. It is a most rewarding job. Saving lives. I've delivered 2 babies, or assisted the mother delivering 2 babies. It has some low points, but the majority of them are high. We're there to try to help people, and when we get the job done, it's always a good experience.
Oh, great. Well, thanks a lot, Doug. And now we're going to go with Christian. And Christian, got a couple questions for you. You're Christian Voth?
Yep.
And you are one of our firefighters at Station 7?
Yep. Yes, I am.
And you're working out a lot, aren't you, Christian?
Trying to keep in shape, yeah.
Okay, got a couple of questions for you. When you, this question's from Kevin. Kevin lives in Vidalia, Ohio. Kevin wants to know, what goes through your mind when you're working inside of a burning building?
Okay. We just had a fire the other night, actually, so fairly recently. I would say there's a lot of things going through your mind. You're paying attention to the structural stability as you're going through the building. The heat, you're paying attention to that.
If it's going up or down.
Right. If it's pushing you to the floor, obviously that's something to be concerned about. You're looking at what the fire's doing while you're in there. And then, of course, the adrenaline that's going while you're trying to make your way through the building. If there's any rescue going on at the time, all those things come into play.
Yeah, it's a fast half hour of time there that you're just flying through your brain.
Very exhilarating.
This next question is from Glenn. Glenn lives in Kangaroo Flat, Victoria, Australia, and he wants to know what's it like living in a fire station, because we live in our fire stations 24 hours a day.
Yep. It's fun, actually. It's one of the things I enjoy about the job. Actually, you get to know all the people that you work with really well. You do become an extended family.
And you have to listen to Doug's jokes over and over again.
Yep. And you hear every one possible, so you get pretty good with the jokes. But that's the nice thing about it, is you get to know people really well, and and you do become an extended family.
Yeah, it really is, and that's the one thing that I would tell anybody. You have to be like a family because everyone lives together, and there's no secrets in the firehouse.
Yep.
This one's last question is from Lisa. Lisa lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and she wants to know how many firefighters are stationed at each firehouse during a shift, and how long are the shifts?
Okay. We work 24-hour shifts. We come in at 8 in the morning, and we get off at 8 the next morning. And then,
so you spend the whole day here. It's not like you're coming and going.
Yep. And then there's 4 people at this station at a time, and then we have Central Fire Station downtown, which has 9, 2 crews, and then a battalion chief, and then headquarters on 37th in Minnesota, which is 2 crews and a battalion chief also.
So most of the stations have 4, and they each ride and take care of one of their apparatus.
Yep, correct.
Well, thanks, Christian, and
thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Got a great question. This question comes from Travis. Travis lives in Sylvia, Kansas, and he wants to know, how do we keep our hoses from freezing in the wintertime? And when today it's 7 below zero and we got a fire, how do we keep our hoses from freezing? I'm going to ask my old friend, Captain Jay Titus. Jay, how you doing?
Good, Jim. How are you?
And today you're not a captain.
I'm acting battalion chief today.
Congratulations. The city is safe with you at the helm.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, Jay, how do we keep hoses from freezing?
Well, it's really simple, Jim. What we do is when we're not using the hose line, we'll leave the nozzle cracked just a little bit so we keep water flowing through it.
And so what happens with that water keeps flowing through it? What's that happen? What's that do, Jay?
It allows it or makes it so it doesn't freeze, Jim. Because moving water dissipates the temperature and it can't freeze.
Yes, you bailed me out on that one, Jay. I greatly appreciate it. Take care. Hey, we got a couple more shout-outs on the show. This shout-out goes to, this is from Rainier, and Rainier lives in Pierre, South Dakota, and he wants a shout-out to Pierre Fire Department Engine Company number 2. This goes out to you, and thanks for the stuff you sent us. We're using it, Rainier, and I greatly appreciate it. And this shout-out is from Jeff. Jeff wants a shout-out to the Hay River Fire Rescue Department in Hay River, Northwest Territories, Canada. Wow, that's a great place to visit. And if you want one of these t-shirts, all you got to do is get on our website at www.siouxfalls.org/fire, go to the fire call section, and you can submit a shout-out or you can submit a question, and we're getting them all the time. Hey, I'm glad you had the time to spend with us. We like showing what we do at Sioux Falls Fire Rescue because this is what we can benefit the city, and all this stuff is here for you. In case you need us, we're here for you. My name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you've been watching Fire Call.